today we're in California with Marc Allen. This is very exciting to be with you and to meet you in person.
Thank you.
For those of you that don't know, Marc Allen actually co-founded in 1977 in your library with Shakti Gawain.
Yes.
This is exciting, and you published Eckhart Tolle and many famous authors in the spiritual realm, right?
Yes, yes. I started just self-publishing a few little things. Then I published Shakti's book, and then all these other great authors started coming, and it just grew from there.
What an adventure. What a blessing to learn from you, because I haven't read it yet, but I just heard that your latest book is The Greatest Secrets of All.
Yes.
So you're going to teach us your greatest secret?
The greatest secret of all, yes. I'll give you the greatest secret. I'll give you the whole... I actually ask everyone to reflect on it and come up with it in their own words. But as far as I'm concerned, the greatest secret of all is just love and serve yourself and others. Mm-hmm. That, to me, that's the greatest secret. Everyone is here to love and serve themselves and others, I think. And you got to take care of yourself first so you can be fulfilled. And once you're fulfilled, your purpose really is loving and serving other people. That's why we're here.
So is that the lesson that you got on your 30th birthday? Because you had nothing really in your 20s, and you had a hard time to keep your job. Mm-hmm. And then you started this publishing company and then became a multimillionaire. So tell us about your secret and your story, because this is quite inspiring. How did you get started?
I was born knowing one really good thing. I knew it was important to do what I loved. And that has served me very, very well over the years. I had two older brothers. I think that's why I learned it. The first did just what the parents want and studied business, but he was never really passionate about his work. And then the second brother came along and was the total rebel. He was the parents' nightmare. And then I came along, and I think subconsciously I looked at both my brothers and realized their paths don't work for me. You can't do what your parents want you to do. You have to do what you want. Yet it doesn't do any good to fight them. Mm-mm. I realized rebelling, I got this somewhere early and deep, that when you rebel against something, you are empowering that very thing you're rebelling against. So I didn't rebel against my parents, I just did my thing. And I realized I wanted to be an actor at first, and a musician, and I studied music, and in my 20s became an actor and a musician and a composer, and had a band for a while, was in theater companies, but everything fell apart. Everything I touched fell apart in my 20s. And I even kept having this image in my late 20s that it was all like sand through my hand, that everything I'd learned was sand through my hand and gone, leaving me with nothing. And in my late 20s, there were even a few years there, I don't even remember what I did except for a few little jobs, and I kept getting fired. I was in a theater company that fell apart. Then I got into another theater company that fell apart. Then I went to a Zen center. I followed my girlfriend into a Zen center, which was very good for me. But I ended up getting kicked out for breaking all the rules. So many rules. I couldn't put up with a Zen center. Then I followed a Tibetan guru for a while, and that didn't work. And then I wandered around the spiritual smorgasbord of Berkeley. We called it a spiritual smorgasbord, and did all these things. And then I had a rock band for a while, and that fell apart. And then the last few years of my 20s, I just had odd jobs. I kept getting fired. I was fired as a dishwasher and busboy for being too slow. I was fired as a typesetter for not showing up on time, because I was at the beach at Santa Cruz and didn't want to show up for work. And then I turned 30. I had no job whatsoever. I had no money. I have no family support. They never were able to support me financially. I definitely did it all on my own. And it was the day that I turned 30 that totally changed my life. It felt like that day, I spent it pacing up and down in my little room. I looked at my life differently. I was 30. I wasn't a kid anymore. And I started asking myself, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do? I realized I'd been following people kind of all through my 20s. Mm-hmm. I got into a theater company because a friend got me in, and followed a guru, and followed my girlfriend here and there. And I did a back to the land experiment too in my 20s that was a disaster that I'd followed my girlfriend into. And then the day I turned 30, it was like I took control, in a new way. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I spent most of the day literally pacing up and down my little one-room slum apartment. in Oakland. It was $65 a month rent, and I was struggling every month. Scrounging was a word we used all the time, to get my rent together. And I remember thinking, like, every month was a miracle. I would just get $65 together somehow. You know, I'd have 30, and then a friend would need to move, and I'd make 35 from moving. I just had my rent. Like magic. I remember thinking, this is like magic. I always have enough rent and food, but barely enough. That's what I was creating. I now see we're all creative magicians, but so many of us just create barely enough, and that's what I was doing all through my 20s, just barely enough. So the day I turned 30, I said, all right, what do I want with my life? And I remembered a little game I'd played during my Back to the Land experiment. One night we were sitting around a fire. I was about 22. And this one couple said, let's play a game we play at church camp. Let's imagine 5 years have passed and everything has gone as well as you could imagine. What would your life look like? And we went around the fire and everybody said something. I didn't remember a word of what I said, but I remembered the game when I was 30. And I thought, this is a good idea. I should do this. This time I took a sheet of paper and wrote it down. And this is what completely changed my life. This one simple little exercise. I teach it to this day. This to me was the essential thing I did. I took a sheet of paper, I wrote ideal scene at the top. And I dared imagine 5 years had passed, so I was 35. And I was living my ideal. What would that look like? And much to my amazement, I wrote, I have a successful publishing company. I didn't even have a job. And I had no interest in business, no understanding of business or money, that produces my books and other books that change the world. And it publishes my music too. And I have a big white house on a hill in Marin County. I had a little slum apartment, which we're sitting in right now, yes. And then I remember doubts and fears immediately overwhelming me, but I stuck with it. And I came up with what might be my unique contribution to humanity. When I really dared dream my ideal, I said, and I have a life of ease too. I don't work too hard. I've been a musician and actor, and I love those hours. You never do anything till 1 in the afternoon. Never. You never start anything till 1 in the afternoon. Those are perfect hours for me. And that's ideally what I wanted, yeah. I wanted success. I wanted, ideally, lots of money. I wanted to make lots of money, why not? And yet have a life of ease and have plenty of time for my music and my writing and just goofing off. I wanted to be lazy, because I am lazy. I usually sleep till about 11. I got up at 11 today. That's about right for me. 11 o'clock, roll out of bed, spend a couple hours getting up to speed, and then start doing something, you know, at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. That's what works for me. And that's what I wanted. That was my ideal. Well, doubts and fears said, impossible, never been done. And I realized dealing with our doubts and fears is the most important. Well, the two essential things, there's just two essential things. One, dare to dream and go for it. Dare to dream your greatest dream, your ideal, and go for it. And then deal with the doubts and fears that come up.
Yeah, but mainly at that stage it seemed like you gave up struggle too.
It took years and years and years, and I kept affirming that I am creating total financial success in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. I've said those words to myself thousands and thousands of times. And at some point, yes, my subconscious got a hold of it, and I realized, you can do everything from a state of ease. You don't have to be stressed to accomplish anything in life. In fact, the more ease, the better, because you don't burn out. In the long run, you have a lot more energy when you do things from ease. And I realized when we look at a master of anything, even say a master of music like Hendrix, you see total ease in the performance. Hendrix wasn't stressing playing his guitar. He was chewing his gum and playing masterfully with ease. That's what we love and appreciate, and I've come to see that coming from a state of ease as much as possible, in the long run, you can accomplish a lot more, and it's a lot better quality. And even anything creative comes from ease. It doesn't come from stress. Writer's block is caused by stress. If you come to it in a totally relaxed manner, there's no writer's block. So that's been my contribution to the world, seeing can I have success with ease? And I found I could.
Yeah. And a lot of people have the excuse of not having the money to create something and go for their dream. But you started your publishing company with no money.
No money, zero.
Tell us about that beginning.
Zero money. Right, right. Well, I knew nothing about business either. I didn't even know how banks worked. A friend of mine was laughing at me the other day. He remembers me walking along the beach with him saying, I don't know anything about business. What do banks do? I mean, I'd been an actor and a musician. I had no idea how a bank could build these big buildings and how that all worked. I was totally clueless. And so my first plan about building a business, I realized my ideal scene had a bunch of goals in it. Start a company, start writing a book, start getting my music recorded, learn about real estate, get into real estate. I had all these goals. I wrote all my goals down. Then I wrote all my goals as affirmations. I am now creating total financial success in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. To this day, I carry around my goals as affirmations in my pocket. And I pull them out and affirm them. Then for every one of my goals, a plan started to emerge, and I would write just little one-page plans for each goal. That's what I teach today. Just have a goal, make a one-page plan, summarize it on one page. It's for your own subconscious. Get your subconscious behind that plan. So for business, all I could think of at first was read a used business 101 textbook, because I didn't know a thing about it, and talk to people that know more than I do about business. That was the beginning. Then I started learning a little about financing. So, okay, I've got to finance this. How do I finance it? The only thing I could think of at first was get a job. I didn't know anything about loans or any kind of creative investors coming on or things like limited partnerships that I learned later on that are brilliant for artists and things to finance any kind of project the way a movie's financed. Bring in the money from investors. They put up the money, you do the creative stuff, and you split profits 50-50. Later on, I did all kinds of things like that. But in the beginning, all I could think of was, well, I got to get a job, any kind of job, and try to save 20% and put it into my publishing. And I got this perfectly horrible job, typesetting, starting at 8:30 in the morning.
Low vibration.
It was, well, oh, it was so boring. It was typing out numbers. It was just names and numbers for 8 hours. It was mind-numbing. I kept looking around. I finally found a good job typesetting a daily newspaper, the Daily Cal paper in Berkeley. That was fun, and it started at 4 o'clock at night. So that was perfect, 4 to midnight.
In your time zone, yeah.
Yeah. So before and after, I could do my thing. Yeah. And so I started literally trying to save 20%. I didn't save 20%, but I saved enough to do my first little book and my first album, Breathe. I remember I saved $1,200. We pressed this album that we recorded ourselves quite cheaply. And then Breathe started selling. That was the first thing that we got out there. It started selling in metaphysical bookstores. We sold about 60,000 copies. And that started financing everything else.
So there was luck and courage too in there, wasn't there?
Yes. Mostly courage and yes, luck. But I always tell people, you create your own luck.
Yeah.
Some bright person said, luck is preparedness meeting opportunity. You get prepared and the opportunities will be there. In fact, I know the opportunities are always there, but we don't see them until we prepare. How do we prepare? Dream of what we really want to do and make a plan how we could possibly get there. Don't even worry about the plan. The plan can change all the time. It doesn't even have to be a good plan. I've come to thoroughly believe some of my early plans were unbelievably lame. It doesn't matter. Just as long as there's a plan. You make a plan and you start taking the steps you can, and then suddenly you'll see more opportunities and you'll be able to take advantage of them, and then people will start calling that luck. We create our own luck.
Yeah. Do you think there is new opportunities right now being created with the economy changing? And what
always.
is the best recommendation or advice that you have right now, or word of inspiration and wisdom for people wanting to become entrepreneur and successful entrepreneur? It feels to me like right now there's more than ever possibilities for everybody to step up and be leaders and be successful entrepreneurs.
Yes, there's always opportunities. I remember when I hit my financial low with my company, after 5 years we were almost bankrupt. And I literally just heard a phrase on the radio driving in. Someone later said it was Napoleon Hill. And the phrase was, within every adversity is an equal or greater benefit. And it was like a light bulb going off. I said, I got to write that down. I pulled over and wrote it down. And then I put it in big letters on my wall, in my office, by my phone. And underneath it, I put it in my own words. Within every problem is an opportunity. There are always opportunities. There's opportunities everywhere for everyone. And we usually just don't see them. We don't see them because we haven't dared dream big enough and we haven't dared go for it. Once I started, it was like a mantra. Instead of being so overwhelmed with the problems, people would literally come into my office and say, we got a problem. And I, looking back, realized I was overwhelmed with the problems. Our distributor had collapsed, hadn't paid us for 6 months worth of sales. They were bankrupt. We were on the verge of bankruptcy. Yet we had problems. People would come in, we got a new problem, we still haven't got paid. I'd look at those words, within every adversity, okay, this is adversity, this is a problem, is a benefit and an opportunity. And I'd literally start asking myself, what benefits can there be in almost being bankrupt? What opportunities are in front of me right now? And when you ask those questions, you get answers. I immediately got answers. I realized, I hadn't been running my company very well because I was so uneducated in business and felt I didn't know what I was doing. I was always looking for somebody else who had more knowledge to help me out, some big daddy to take care of me. It wasn't working. That big daddy didn't appear. So I realized I'm the founder of the company, I have to be not exactly the big daddy, that wasn't the image I had, but I have to take responsibility for it. Yeah. And realize it's my baby, the buck stops here. What is the opportunity of nearly being bankrupt? Well, it forces you to think and move quickly, and that's exactly what we did. I said, okay, we got to get another distributor. Duh, our current distributor hasn't paid us in 6 months. They're going bankrupt. All right. Where's another distributor? And we found another distributor, and we got some things out, and within a year we were profitable and have been ever since.
I love how you stepped in that vision.
Yeah.
Really stepped in and owning it. It's a big one, especially when you have big vision like that.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to embrace all that greatness and all the possibilities that can open up not just for yourself but for others too around.
Yeah, I'm convinced everybody has the potential. It's just, and everybody has doubts and fears. And 99% of the work is dealing with those doubts and fears. Like Eckhart says in The Power of Now, get the inside right and the outside will take care of itself. I really constantly think of that and realize that completely applies to success in a career, which Eckhart really isn't that interested in. But I am. I'm very interested in developing a real successful career. And I realize, yes, it's almost all inner work. Just get it so that your dreams are focused on a clear plan and you have a focused feeling of love behind it that's not distracted by too many doubts and fears. You can be off course a lot of the time in doubts and fears. In fact, I heard a great analogy. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, I wrote a book called Visionary Living. And at that time I thought, maybe you had to be on course 51% of the time. I thought maybe that's the magic number, where if you're not undermining yourself most of the time, you'll succeed. But then I heard just maybe 5 years ago the analogy that a plane, when it flies anywhere, is off course 95% of the time. And the pilots just keep correcting over and over and over. It's off course almost all the time. And when I heard that, I thought, that's the story of my life. I was off course more than I was on course, for sure. You know, with doubts, fears, or just low energy, or just frustration, or all those things take you off course. But fortunately, you can be off course a lot of the time and still reach your destination.
Yeah.
If you keep correcting, keep remembering, go back to that plan. What do I need to do today? What step can I take forward? Yes, this is really frustrating right here. This isn't working, but okay, get back on course. What's the plan? What's the dream? What can I do? And literally, I think if you're on course just a small percentage of the time, you will reach your destination just like a plane.
And chaos is part of it, isn't it?
What?
Chaos.
Chaos, yes.
Of it too.
Yes.
Order and chaos. It's sometimes some people say
Yes.
it's finding the right balance too between the two, and we shouldn't make ourselves so wrong for it being chaotic sometimes. It's part
Right.
of the creativity bubbling up.
Yes, yes. I like that. That's true. Chaos, yes.
Would you
Yeah.
say you have faced chaos sometimes?
Oh
chaotic
yeah,
moments?
and yes, and plans change all the time, and other things happen, and you know, now with the internet coming on, talk about possibilities and opportunities. You have worldwide distribution on your laptop. You know, there's almost no excuse anymore. People often try to tell me their excuses as to why they aren't successful, and I don't buy them because I know they're lame excuses. They're totally valid if they believe them, for instance, but I don't believe them.
Yeah.
I had an interviewer once email me before he interviewed me, said, Mark, I have to tell you, I don't believe you. I believe it takes hard work to succeed. You've got to work really hard in order to succeed. And I emailed him back, I said, you're absolutely right. If you believe that, you're right. In your case, you will never succeed unless you work really, really hard, because that's your belief. I choose to believe something else. I think I can do it in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. I don't want to work hard. I won't. I don't. I never have. I've never put in more than maybe 20 focused hours a week in my publishing company, or less even. This idea we have of a 40-hour work week is completely arbitrary. The idea, if we have any idea that it takes a certain hard work or a certain number of hours in order to succeed, and we think that we're not capable of doing that, that's a lame excuse.
So how do you define success then?
Everybody has to define it themselves. What success really means, it's totally different for each person. You know, for somebody it might be backpacking around Nepal.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I met this German guy who was walking around the world. I met him on Maui. He'd spent 4 years walking from Germany down through Europe, down around Africa, and then North America and South America, and he'd gotten to Hawaii. He was going to spend 8 years walking around the world. And I met him on Maui, and he had walked around the circumference of Maui, and that was his success, walking around the world. What an amazing thing to do. And so every person has their own dream. Just dare to dream and dare to go for it.
Yeah. That's where you're living a juicy life, isn't it?
Yes.
Living
That's
also with ease.
where the juice is.
That's where the juice is.
Yeah, in your own dreams. You know, why not be a star? Everyone, be a star in your own world, at least in your own imagination.
Tell us about your vision of the law of attraction. Because you speak about it.
Yes.
There's a little bit of a different oomph to it.
Yes. I just have found a very simple way to apply that law of attraction. The first half of The Greatest Secret of All is my simple little method, which I've already talked about. All I did and all I teach, all that's necessary is to write your ideal scene down, dare dream your ideal, start there, make a list of goals, and then I rewrite each goal as an affirmation, and then just start affirming those things, and for every goal, a plan will come. And make a written plan on 1 page of paper. One piece. Keep it down, keep it simple. Whatever you want in life, make a plan for it.
And the law of attraction responds to that
And the
plan?
law of attraction responds. I have no doubt the universe says yes to every thought we have. So when we keep affirming, you know, I am now creating I was on the edge of bankruptcy, $65,000 in credit card debt at my financial low. When our distributor was collapsing, that's when I was almost collapsing. At that point, I started affirming, I am creating total financial success in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. I have no doubt whatever thought we have and whatever word we say, the whole universe in some mysterious way says yes to it. That's the law of attraction. Whatever we say, it says yes and starts showing us how. So when we dare to affirm, I am now creating the life of my dreams, the universe says yes and starts showing us how. But then if our next thought is, oh, but it's so hard to succeed, so few people succeed, the whole universe says, yes, it's hard for you with that thought, yes. Mm-hmm. That's how it works. So the so-called principle of attraction is just consistently putting out more positive stuff with your mind, more powerful stuff, then you undermine it with the negative stuff. So it's just dealing with every thought. I had a wonderful story. I get a miracle story every week. Mm-hmm. The miracle story last week, this woman came to me. She had come to a seminar just as the real estate market collapsed. She'd been a real estate agent and just bought a house at the top of the bubble, this tremendously expensive house, way overvalued. And so the real estate market crashed. She suddenly wasn't making any money as an agent, and she was totally underwater, as they say, with her house. She had huge mortgage payments, and the house was not even worth half of what her mortgage was. And she was looking at foreclosure, and she didn't know what to do. She came to one of my seminars. She got it. She got it. She ended up walking out of that seminar with one page in a notebook of affirmations. Her affirmations were, I am now paying off my house in full, easily and effortlessly. I now have an abundant stream of income that comes to me easily and effortlessly. And she wrote this page of affirmations. And she started going to her health club every morning. And for a half an hour she'd be on a treadmill or something. And she had the affirmations in front of her. And she would just keep saying it over and over and over. And she said she knows that repeating those affirmations, even though she was broke, she was facing foreclosure, she started affirming, I am now paying off my house easily and effortlessly, in full. I am now creating great income. She affirmed that every morning for half an hour, having way more discipline than I ever had. I never affirmed that much or anything. When I made my first list of affirmations, I told myself I'd read it every day. I didn't even do that. I read it a couple times a week, maybe. I'm completely lazy, completely undisciplined and unorganized. But she was very disciplined. Half an hour every morning she read those affirmations. She said, within a few days she started getting these creative ideas. And she knows it was because of the affirmations. Oh, try this. She said she got like 5 or 6 ideas that she tried or played with and thought, no, that won't work. And then she got an idea. Go to the banks and work directly with the banks, helping people in the same situation you're in to refinance their homes. And she did that. That was 2 years ago when she was at her financial low. Now her house is paid off in full. She has great income coming in. She has substantial savings. Everything she'd been affirming has come true. That's the simple way it works. Mm-hmm. That's how the law of attraction works.
So affirmation is one of those really important practices to go through hard times, but there's some other practices in there.
Yeah, and they all work. Everything works. Every practice that's ever been invented works unless we undo it with our negative thinking. Because unfortunately, negative thinking also works.
Yeah.
Negative thinking is just as powerful as positive thinking. So all the time, it seems, or not all the time, but a lot of the time, I'm stopping people and saying, don't say that. Quit saying it's hard.
Yeah.
Quit saying it's complicated. Quit saying, somebody said, oh, this is a pain in the butt. I said, what, you want to get hemorrhoids? Stop saying that. Somebody said, this job is killing me. I said, cancel. You want to die? Quit saying that. Our words are powerful for good or bad. Mm-hmm. Like James Allen says, and as you think, for years I said this was the best book I read, And then The Power of Now came along, and that's the best book I read. And James Allen, As You Think, is now the third best, because Eckhart also wrote A New Earth. They're brilliant, brilliant. But that little book, As You Think, originally called As a Man Thinketh, I did a version called As You Think, opens with a poem. And it's like a traditional Buddhist book. If you understand the poem, you get the whole book. And the poem is, mind is the master power that molds and makes, and we are mind, and evermore we take the tool of thought, and shaping what we will, bring forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. We think in secret, and it comes to pass. Our world is but our looking glass. That's it. That is the law of attraction in one poem. And then there's one other poem in that I have to say.
Yeah, and you're great at reciting
well, the
them,
whole poem,
them, you live it.
for years then, that was like my mantra, that poem. I kept saying that poem until I got it. And then I went on to the second poem. There's another poem at the end of chapter 2 in As You Think that is so powerful, and it's good to reflect on this. The poem is, you will be what you will to be. Let failure find its false content in that poor word environment, but spirit scorns it and is free. And what he means is there's a false contentment in failure. There's a comfort in failure. Let failure find its false contentment in that poor word environment. He uses environment and later on circumstance to really mean everything in our lives, inner and outer, that we use as an excuse. Our it's the wrong environment. It's, there's not. But I know so many people. It's harder than it used to be to succeed in this business because of this and that. No, that's not true. They're using it as an excuse. So that's what he means when he says environment and circumstance. It was written in 1904. It's a little dated, but the power of the poem is worth reflecting on, because he just says it. This is the key. This is the key to creating the life of your dreams in this poem. You will be what you will to be. Let failure find its false content in that poor word environment, but spirit scorns it and is free. It masters time. It conquers space. It cows that boastful trickster chance and bids the tyrant circumstance uncrown and take a servant's place. The human will, that force unseen, the offspring of a deathless soul, can hew a way to any goal, though walls of granite intervene. Be not impatient in delay, but wait as one who understands. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. When our creative spirit dares to rise and command, to decree, to dare to dream, I want to create success doing this, the gods are ready to obey. The creative forces of the universe rush in and absolutely support you. And it's true of everyone. They absolutely support you. Unless then you say, oh, it's so hard. Or that morning you wake up, we all inevitably wake up some morning, our energy just isn't there. Oh, it's a rainy day. Oh, the kids crying, the dog. We all have those times that we're totally off track and we totally forget everything we know. And we're totally undoing our dream in a way. And those doubts and fears can undermine and undo our dreams. But we can have all those doubts and fears a lot of the time. And if we still dare to dream, when spirit rises and commands, I'm going to make it. I'm going to live the life of my... I don't care if so many people I deal with say, oh, well, I got a full-time job, I got a family, I got a mortgage, I don't have any time. I said, that's not true. You have time. James Allen says it masters time. Our spirit can master time.
That's pretty incredible.
Yes, I have plenty of time.
Yes.
So many people think there's not enough time. Time is a big one. Time and money are the two big ones. There's not enough time and money. God didn't make enough time and money. No, you can master time and money so there can be plenty. In my world, there's plenty of time and money. Plenty of money. I get nice fat bonuses, way more than I spend. There's more money than I even dared to dream of years ago. And I have plenty of time. So it's not true that they don't have enough time. Even if you have a job and a mortgage and kids, you can find some time to focus on your goal. I don't care if it's 2 hours a week at 11 o'clock at night when the kids are asleep or something. Or each month you have a day off. Or sometime, you have some time. How much TV do you watch? I often say to those people, you know, okay, you're sitting there watching Golden Girls on TV. Maybe just watch 1/2 hour and another half hour focus on your dream. You know, we all have time.
And time expands. It really feels like when we say to ourselves, we have time to be at that meeting on time or whatever, then time all of a sudden seems to stretch, or things, or the universe seems to shift things around.
It does.
To make it happen.
There is enough time.
Music really is probably one of the things that opened for you a lot of, I mean, I guess channels or direct connections or feeling, being in the flow. I mean, it must have been a tremendous part also of your creation, no? Using that as a practice or as a regular tool to connect with spirit and...
Yeah, I think so. I haven't thought about it a lot and I feel uncomfortable when people say, oh, my music is channeled.
No, but you're feeling connected in that moment.
And yes, in that moment it sure is. And it's quite wonderful when I sit down and just a new piece will come along, and sometimes I'll just play it from beginning to end, just fully formed, and I will sit there and say, where did that come from? You know, thank you, Creator. I mean, sometimes it just comes that way.
Like your vision too, it came all of a sudden too.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of came in.
Yeah.
You were tuned in, tapped in, turned on.
Well, I dared to write down ideal scene, because I remember the first sentence, I now have a successful publishing company. Immediately doubts and fears just rushed in, just powerfully. Mark, you, publishing company, and it's, get out of here, get out of here. I got around my doubts and fears at first. When I first wrote my ideal scene, I remember them just saying, Mark, that's way too much. You have a company and write books and record music and get real estate, that's way too much, and have a life of ease, that's impossible, never been done. And I was just overwhelmed with these doubts and fears. And then I was pacing up and down, and I remembered hearing, a friend had told me about Buckminster Fuller in the 60s, who was this amazing inventor who went around talking at colleges. And he said, all I heard was what this friend told me, and the friend told me, he said, in his 20s he came to a point where he was either going to commit suicide or look at his life as this unique experiment. And I latched onto that word experiment.
That's juicy.
And I said to my doubts and fears, hey, you say it's impossible. Most of me thought it was impossible to have a life of ease and for me to succeed doing what I loved. Impossible. You know, I don't have what it takes. I'm completely inept. I'm a space case. I'm unorganized. Yeah, I have a terrible memory. Yeah, I'm a blah, 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 on and on. I really am a space case with a terrible memory, and I'm unorganized, and I think one of the best things I can do is show people how untogether I am, how really untogether I am at times. I mean, I forget things. I smoked a lot of marijuana in my 20s, and I don't know if it's that, or I think I was forgetful even before that, though. I think, I'm very forgetful. I'm very unorganized. My desk is chaos. And any excuse you have is not valid, because there are people that have that same excuse that have succeeded brilliantly, you know? And I forget where I started what that sentence was about in the beginning.
But do you have somebody that you look after that you're like, wow, you know, I admire what this person has achieved? And
Buckminster Fuller was one. Oh yeah, I remember the word experiment. That's where it came from.
Yeah.
I latched onto that word experiment, and I said, this is my experiment, doubts and fears. Don't bug me for a year. I'm going to go for my dream in my own lazy way. And it appealed to my laziness. I said, I can sleep late. I'm going to sleep late. I'm just going to work when I feel like it. Doubts and fears said, it'll never work. You've got to work hard. I said, wait, this is my experiment. My Buckminster Fuller-like experiment. Later on, it dawned on me, if this worked, I would really have something to share. the world. And it worked. And that's how I got around my doubts and fears. I said, let me experiment for a year, trying to go for my dream in my own lazy way, trying to really live my ideal scene now, starting now, doing what I can. What can I do now? Well, I can have a life of ease now. Mm-hmm. I don't have to work too hard now. I can try to take it easy all the time. The easier the better, because that's my key phrase, take it easy. That's part of my ideal scene. Don't work too hard. That became my experiment. And that's how I got around my doubts and fears.
And you're still experimenting.
I'm still on that same experiment because I found it worked.
Yeah.
I never burn out. I only work when I love to work. So, you know, I have a good schedule. I don't do mornings. Mornings are all to myself or to sleep. I don't do Mondays ever. Mondays are moon days. That's the worst day to start a work week, I think.
Yeah.
It is. It's a moon day. I really think there's something to that. So I always have Mondays just for myself. So by Tuesday afternoon, I want to go to work. There's no place I'd rather be. I get to the office. I haven't seen my email since Friday, so I've got 200 emails. But I'm whipping through my emails. I want to be there. And I work as long as I really enjoy it. As soon as I don't enjoy it, I leave.
Yeah.
And I do that every day of the week. Friday, I sometimes work, sometimes don't. Saturday, I sometimes work in the afternoon, never at the office though. Sunday's always family day, just family day. And Monday's my day to myself.
Do you still have dreams? And
oh yeah.
You have more
now,
dreams?
Oh yes, my ideal scene has gotten bigger and bigger. Now the next step is
you're like
to
a
make,
painter,
right,
like
right.
like you're creating right now. Okay, colors.
I've got my life down. I've got my life is working. So now I just want to create a world that works for all and have everybody in the world get this concept. Buckminster Fuller said in the 60s, so this is 50 years ago now, 40, 50 years ago, he said, we now have the resources and technology to house and feed and educate and heal everyone on the planet. He said that 40 years ago. Well, now with the internet, we certainly have the resources and technology to house and feed and educate and heal everyone on the planet. That's my next ideal scene. Global, a world that works for all. We can do it.
Together.
Together. We've got to do it together, obviously.
Brilliant. Well, this is awesome, spending this moment with you.
Thank
this
you
is such
so
a juicy
much.
Conversation.
Great. My pleasure. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. It's great.
Juicy Living Tour.
Yes, yes.
From California and next week to in Vancouver.
Home of Eckhart Tolle.
Yes. Maybe we'll track him. Much love, my beautiful co-creators.